Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, aka the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Shout out to my brother Jesse for that name. Shout out to Arrested Development. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. This is a Houston Astros fan podcast that can be found on my Substack. That's going to be spacecadetsports.substack.com. It's your go-to place for following the Houston Astros this season, especially if you're a true fan, a ride or die fan, a fan that can use memes to help them get you through the season, which we all know is going to be a long baseball season. Not just because I'm saying anything about the season, just because baseball is a long, long season. I'm here in studio in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host. You know her, you love her, Carla the dog. She might be making some noises here. She's definitely been complaining a lot. She's been wanting some treats. So you might hear her in the background. She can't wait for the dog days of summer. She also she produces this podcast because I need the help. She's the Roz to my Frasier. But yeah, she's also reminding me that I need to introduce myself. I don't think I did that. I'm Paul Salazar Jr. I'm a lifelong Houston Astros fan. I'm a native Houstonian. I'm a joke writer. I've been a joke writer and a general funny person in entertainment here for multiple decades now. So that hurts to say. It's wild to claim that. But yeah, I started this blog and podcast because I feel like daily sports coverage can be wildly negative, and this hot take type place, and for true fans, for lifelong fans, that can kind of be upsetting. It makes the season very difficult sometimes, to ride that roller coaster with hot takes and like that. So here we try to think positively about our Houston Astros and root for the team no matter what. But, we also try to swallow tougher pills with humor and memes, because honestly, you do have to have some reality checks throughout the season. As people are called up, people are called down, people are bumped up and down the lineup card, if you will. So, we get that too. But even in the golden era of Houston Astros baseball, not every season, can realistically end with them hoisting up that World Series trophy, So we always root for them to do that, but we know realistically that we're with this team no matter what, So that's Space Cadet Sports, kind of in a nutshell. But let's get to baseball here. So the Houston Astros here have won their second series of the season yesterday against that team from Arlington. It's been tough sledding for the Astros this young season, but to think that we are up now and what could be Houston's closest divisional rival is huge news. Seattle definitely has struggled out of the gate as well. Where it's yet to be seen what type of team they are consistently. I am much more optimistic about the Astros. So, it is nice to see that we were able to go up 4-3 on the Rangers here. I think that's huge. So, it's also good, we're not exactly in a place, in the divisional standings here at 6-11 where we want to be at the bottom of the division, but really when you're looking at it in this road trip, we're looking at the starting pitching we have, and we've struggled, and I'm lovingly calling them the Suicide Squad, kind of the 6 through 10 rotation guys, kind of, if you will. They really struggled, and we didn't expect a lot out of Blair Henley for sure, for that sacrificial lamb start they basically put him in. But the Suicide Squad really had a tough time on this road trip. No one expected our rotation to kind of look like this, even going into this road trip, when we thought earlier in the day that Framber Valdez was going to pitch that solar eclipse game, so we really couldn't anticipate kind of how quickly we needed to get Spencer Arrighetti in there, and he kind of wasn't quite ready. Same thing with Sean Dubin, who was rehabilitating, another young pitcher that, he just got called up, pitched for the Astros last night, closed out the ninth inning. Sean Dubin has starting pitching stuff or starting pitching length, I should say. So it's like we really didn't have them ready. So calling up Blair Hindley was definitely not part of our plan here. But it's good to see them play with a chip on their shoulder. It's good to see them, kind of defend Jordan. To see, Tucker stare down. I believe it was Burke. I can't remember who he ended up, the Texas Rangers pitcher ended up tagging Jordan for one, and then later on he punched his locker with a non-pitching hand and had an injury. So it's like definitely not what that guy wanted, but maybe don't pitch. Keep pitching up and in if you're having control issues. That's gonna be tough, especially in that type of a game. I just think it was, in retrospect, probably. He was trying to be competitive, but didn't want to hit anybody. So at least that's good to hear. I think still sometimes you got to check your emotion, check that adrenaline, and maybe not do something that could have potential damage there. But I do think it's nice to see this team play with a chip on its shoulder. The record of 6-11 really isn't going to impress anyone. But it's wild to see so many of these "the Astros are over" type articles. Particularly from the haters the Athletic, because it seems to me, the Astros have had a lot of bad luck, have struggled to get timely hitting. Their hitting with runners in scoring position kind of struggled a bit, but it's starting to pick up a bit here. I think there's a lot trending upwards for these Astros, but if you read a lot of the national media, it doesn't seem that way, especially at the Athletic. But national media will always take the opportunity to dunk on the Astros when they are struggling, especially after 2019 and the breaking news about the cheating scandal. It's definitely been a lot of negative news anytime the Astros have struggled since then. But, to me, that's expected. But I find it particularly frustrating that Chandler Rome is, kind of standing in the wings, rubbing his hands together like kind of that meme, just kind of waiting for the Astros' demise because last I checked, he's the Astros beat writer. And normally, in the history of sports beat writing, it seems like the person who wrote for the team generally liked the team. And Chandler Rome seems to have a bit of contempt for the team. And I know back in the 2019 days, there was a lot of Chandler Rome that would kind of go after kind of haters and trolls against the Astros on Twitter, and he won a lot of favor from Astros fans because of that. But, it seems to me that Chandler Rome is the type of guy that likes attention, and I'm not trying to be negative because obviously, I'm an actor, I'm a podcaster, you put things out there, you are looking for a conversation, you are looking for attention in some kind of way. But with Chandler Rome, I think his brand of sports journalism and the brand of sports journalism that's happening nowadays is you're looking for interaction, and I think Chandler Rome got a lot of interaction, in 2019 from that kind of engagement on Twitter. And nowadays he's writing for The Athletic. He's behind a paywall. He's writing for the Astros on a daily basis. No longer, with the Chronicle and having that kind of distribution, the old kind of sports journalism distribution. He's now with digital sports journalism distribution. And when you're put behind a paywall, when you have to get subscribers, I assume that you get a lot more money talking about Astros hate. So, it's kind of tough for Astros fans where your daily go-to, beat writer tends to be beating the drum of Astros hate and waiting for the demise of the team. So, I definitely, I kind of like in a way want to be a reaction to that. And I know I am just a small lowly fan blog, but I do think that there's room for a much more positive kind of daily look at the Astros, or at least weekly recap of the Astros and things like that. I think I don't care about being rich and famous, I guess. It would be nice to to get some more subscribers. Maybe I should take a page out of Chandler Rome's book there, because I bet you a page out of his pocketbook is a lot. But, I'm not about that. Obviously, if you look at my career in entertainment, I'm not about making money. I'm about I'm about doing something out of principle. I definitely reading Ken Rosenthal and Chandler Rome and some of these the Score and ESPN. There we go. Carla's very upset. Carla, Carla gets very upset to hear that I read ESPN. She's like, "Don't do that. That's a bad time, Dad." But because I do read it a lot, there are times where I think maybe I should do like a reaction video, almost as they would on TikTok, where I'm just kind of reacting to the negative points that these journalists are making. Because there's a lot of times I'm like, okay, I understand that on some level, but I feel like they're being a little overreactive to play up to the hate that people want, and the people want to hear that the Astros are over. I think we could do it because it's just a lot of them are just so doomer and ridiculous, and we can do that segment. Maybe we'll call it "Okay, Doomer." So yeah, let me know what you think of that. Maybe we'll do that. I definitely am. Carla shook me. Sometimes she barks and it just shakes my soul. It's just so loud. But yeah, I know some people are like, why am I hating so much on, when I'm like trying to be positive about the Astros? Why can I'm simultaneously I'm kind of hating on journalists or beat writers in a way. And I think the reason why it gets under my skin is because it leads to a much bigger problem. And that problem being bad fans. That kind of negative way of following sports, teaches people that, they should follow the Astros and generally be disagreeable and kind of frustrated and angry at them all the time, which I don't think is the best way to be a fan. It's definitely not the best way to live your life, to be looking for negativity and looking for things to be angry about. I say that as somebody who, can fall into those trappings. In my 20s, especially as a joke writer, you're just constantly looking, what am I angry about today, man? But that's not the best way to be a person. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I feel like that's what's happening with a lot of Astros fans nowadays. There's a lot of negativity. I don't want us to turn into a toxic fan base. It's almost as if we're getting to that Yankees fan base levels of complaining, and that's not good. It's good to want your team to do better, of course. It's good to want to win games. I'm not saying just be okay with losing all the time, but we're not losing all the time. It's the beginning of the season, so it's kind of like, what's with this attitude? It's almost like the expectation of winning is a curse sometimes. Like I remember when it was just me and my brother and like a dozen other people, it felt like at the Dukes box, cheering on like a 1,000 loss team at that time, and it was still fun for me to be a fan. I think being a fan sometimes we all get wrapped up in winning, and you get spoiled by winning, and it becomes an expectation to win, and then it becomes like a right. You feel like it's your right for the team to win, and you get furious when things don't go your way, and you start blaming Dusty Baker, and you start scaring Martin Maldonado's wife. That's not who we should be. When you read that stuff online and those stories, it's like, that's not who we should be. Dusty Baker shouldn't retire and say some of the criticism online was too much, when he was one game away from the World Series, and he did so well for us in years past, and the team had did so well for us in years past, and on top of that, he's Dusty Baker. So like, how do we think that we could have done better, at the time? Hindsight is 2020. Being able to have the luxury of retro looking back on it makes it an easy choice for us because we know what the outcome was. But we don't have that history in baseball. We've never been professional baseball managers. And yeah, scaring somebody's wife, like trying to threaten people, that's ridiculous. That's not who we are. That's not who fans should be. So that's why I get mad at negativity in sports, because it trains people to kind of get furious at people when things don't go their way. That's not who we should be. Like, we should choose to be fans. No one's forcing you to be here. You don't deserve something because you paid a price of admission for a ticket or because you have a hat. If that's how love works for you, if it's transactional, I feel sorry for you. Don't buy the hat. Sell the hat. Don't buy the tickets. If you really feel like the tickets are too much and you can't afford them and you're mad when they lose, and maybe, don't go to the game. Watch it on TV. I understand like being frustrated by ticket prices, but you willingly paid the price. You went there, so maybe just be okay with going there, win or lose. That's all I'm saying. Like you're paying. No one's forcing you to be a fan. If you want to be like that, go be a Yankees fan. They like fans like that over there. If you want to be a fair weather fan where you're only happy when they're winning, go be a Dodgers fan or Rangers fan. But that, for Astros fans, like I definitely think looking for the positivity, looking for the good stuff is a much better way to enjoy the game. And, honestly, yeah, a little bit better way to live your life. So, that's what we're trying to do here. So we're going to do some positivity here. Let's look at this past series with the Rangers, I should say. Notice how the offense has started to turn it around. Like I know that we were talking about hitting with runners in scoring position, and I know that there definitely were some timely moments where we would have wanted some more hits, but generally we won those games. Like I was looking at a graphic on the last night's broadcast. I believe it was saying in the last games at Minute Maid Park that we've played this season, we've had an offense of about 7.2 runs a game. I'm sure that might be a little more after last night's game. I don't remember what inning that stat was in. But, their offense has been scoring runs. The offense is slowly turning it around. You want to notice that. You want to also notice the middle relief. It is getting solid. Now, it isn't perfect. Now that's making myself clear there. It isn't perfect. But we can rely on some arms in the middle relief. And we were very concerned about that in the first week of the season. We want to notice like the last couple starts where starters are going deep into the start. Pardon me. But when starters are going deep into the start, when they're going deep into the game, we tend to have better reactions from our late inning relievers here. So, I know that we've started a little rocky here with our starting pitching and our late inning relief. But, we do have some things to build off of, and I think it's really important to look at that. And when we are, talking about our improved offense, we can't get away the fact that there is a glaring hole at first base right now. There's been so many articles written about it. There's been so many people claiming that we need to trade Jose Abreu or DFA him, get rid of Singleton, people wishing Yuli was still here, and Yuli Gurriel is retired, by the way, folks. Not playing baseball in the majors this year, I should say. But, I get it. There's a lot of frustration when you don't have slugging coming from a position that traditionally on winning teams you want to get a lot of slugging from. Jose Abreu has started slowly. John Singleton is looking to be who we expected John Singleton to be. He's going to be a guy with a good eye. He can defensively hold down his position. He is going to give you some big swings, but he's generally going to get on base and get you some big hits. He's going to take some strikeouts. He's going to take some walks. But he doesn't have the highest strikeout rating. We're hoping at least he doesn't have his highest strikeout rating, and that way he can draw some more walks. So he's definitely more of a backup first baseman, kind of a like situational pinch hitter. Nobody, if you thought he was going to be much more than that, I think that, that's just kind of really wishful thinking. He is a professional baseball player, but that's just kind of the scouting report on him. That's kind of just, what we're looking at with his ceiling. So, I think he's a great human interest story, and we definitely are rooting for him here. But unfortunately, when Jose Abreu is Carla's rooting for you too, John. We are all rooting for John Singleton here. But when you're looking at Jose Abreu's start, and we weren't expecting a great one, but this has been pretty rough of a start. So that really puts the spotlight on John Singleton, who's been playing a lot more baseball as Abreu is resting. So I do think that fairly or unfairly, John Singleton's performance is really, really being looked at right now. I think he's doing what we expected of him. However, people are wanting more production out of first base, whether that's going to be Jose Abreu or John Singleton. And truthfully, trading Abreu is probably not going to happen. DFAing him is not going to be happening unless something really terrible is happening with the Astros or Abreu just really can't swing a bat anymore. Dana Brown in the press said that it looks like it's timing issues for him. That Abreu needs to get the timing down a little better. So there hasn't been a lot of negative press about Abreu coming from the front office, and that's because they invested in him. That's because they want to see him succeed. Joe Espada has been getting a lot of heat for how he's managing the first base position right now. And honestly, folks, I don't know what people are expecting out of him, because that's what the roster construction is. If we're really wanting to blame somebody about first base, we need to look at general manager Dana Brown. Maybe we should have signed somebody. Maybe we should have got Joey Loperfido working at first base more. But I think they're really hoping that this is going to work for the Astros. They're optimistic about this, and right now I'm optimistic about it too. Not that I think that there's going to be some kind of magical resurgence tomorrow of Jose Abreu. There's still adjustments that need to be done, but when you look up and down the Astros roster, when Yanier Díaz is getting this kind of production, when Yanier Díaz is batting cleanup for multiple games in a row, that used to be the black hole in our offense. That used to be the 9 hole, and Abreu's, batting as low as 8 right now. So, when you kind of put it in that way, and when you're thinking about we're getting slugging from other places, and this is now kind of the offensive hole in the lineup, this is the kind of spot where we're kind of, letting somebody rehabilitate, we're letting somebody find their swing, there is a potential that if the Astros return to their winning way of baseball, that Jose Abreu will be able to be carried by the rest of the lineup. I know that's probably not what people want to hear. This is a fan base that wants everybody in from 1 to 9 to be able to hit home runs and grand slams all the time. But realistically, they're paying so much for Jose Abreu. They are trying to get production out of him. He still has something to contribute. I can see that if everybody is firing, if everybody is doing well offensively, if we're able to rotate people in and out and sub out Abreu from starts here and there, that Abreu has a place on this team as he continues to struggle if we're winning, if we're knocking runners in. So let's I was actually talking about cleanup Yanier Díaz, and that's something to be keeping an eye on. He also has been hitting as a DH. He's hitting a whole lot better. The team has a lot of trust in him. I think just on a brief note about Yanier Díaz, they also, the Houston, really small note, but I think an important note, the Houston Astros promoted a catcher, a bullpen catching coach from Sugar Land to the main team in Houston. And the reason being is they're bringing their catching coach from the bullpen to be able to be in the dugout with Yanier Díaz and with backup catcher Victor Carantini. And the reason being is so that catching coach can help the catchers in game with game planning and pitch calling and that kind of thing, because I think there's been people who have been making jokes about missing Maldonado now, but game planning and that kind of aspect of a catcher's game is very big, and nobody really did game preparation better than Martin Maldonado. So not having him in the dugout, I feel like a lot of these younger pitchers would have had somebody to help them develop in the dugout like Martin Maldonado. So I feel like bringing that extra catching coach is big, because it brings another coach into the dugout to help these players game plan. So that's big for Yanier. And yeah, another note, I'm looking at my notes here. Another thing, when we are looking at first base and slugging, it's hard to, we are looking at our team and wondering, what we could do or what we could have done or woulda, coulda, shoulda with Dana Brown in the offseason and who we could have signed. But you look at a World Series championship team, the defending Texas Rangers, right now they have Jared Walsh and Ezekiel Duran as their first base options, so they're kind of still, that's a traditional slugging position that they're kind of piecing together there, so I think, sometimes we get hung up on these things, like, like first base needs to be slugging, but if your lineup can cover it, maybe we could, do some spot start stuff when we need to. There could be a path of success there for us, but honestly, the lineup will have to carry more slugging and knock in more runs. But when you look at, Mauricio Dubon, Jake Myers, Chas McCormick, Victor Carantini, you look at these bottom of the lineup guys and you see their production this year, I am optimistic that these guys can figure out a way to knock in some runs and to cover Jose Abreu as he figures it out. And hopefully we can get him figuring it out sooner than later. And hopefully we could also get John Singleton taking some walks and getting some big hits. He definitely had an extra base hit, I believe 2 nights ago. He's had some big flyouts, but hopefully he could start, knocking in some runs here. I think it's just important to remember still how early the season is. I know we're not exactly where we want to be. I know a lot of people are writing these articles about how the Astros need to panic, but something that I was looking at Fangraphs, Fangraphs was really, all these kind of power rankings, have the Astros like at 16th. There's one that had us at 19th. There's a lot of people saying that we're really not doing good, even after a series win against the Rangers. Fangraphs had something that was a little more weighted. I believe they had us around 12th or so in the power rankings. And their rankings were saying that they're much more looking at how a team has done historically and kind of versus how a team is doing currently, and trying to weight, where they could go based off of the projections and how they're doing right now. So when you're looking at those numbers from Fangraphs, which, is very statistically minded and very analytical and very nerdy, I'm looking at them and, it seems like, yes, the Astros did take a step back because they don't have the same projections to win the same amount of games as they would at the beginning of the season. However, it's not quite as bad as you think. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the article right now as we speak. I thought I had it loaded up so I could give you those numbers. But it's funny. The title of the article was like, basically that this is a tradition for the Astros to start slowly. It's not that abnormal that the Astros start slowly. So of course I can't find it right now when I need it. but let's see. Yeah, here we go. I think I finally found it. So we've got to the numbers here of our slow start. In 2020, we started 7-10. 2021, we started 7-10. 22 and 23, we started 8-9. And this season, we've started 6-11. Obviously, that it's sad that that's how we start off every season, but that is kind of, our time-honored tradition, as it's saying there. So anyone that has been an Astros fan as long as I have, or, you are used to this slower start in current seasons, and not to panic too early. It's not ideal. It's not what we want to see, but they've done it before, and they've come back before to have really good seasons. So yeah, our projected wins on opening day was 90.5, which is, I feel like, that's a fairly accurate, projection. I was hoping we'd get around 94 myself, but right now, as of April 15th, their projected win has gone down by almost 4 wins at 86.6, so we still have a 53% chance of winning the division. We have a 70.1% chance of the playoffs and an 8.5% chance of winning the World Series. So, when we're looking at where we were at the beginning of the season, statistically, we have gone down from those projections. However, it's not like we need to panic. This is still a very good team. If they still go out there and are able to execute and win games, we could very much still go deep into the playoff, and we can have good probability of getting to where we want to be. Now, I do know that I'm getting this podcast out a little late, but I'd still want to do a very quick look forward to the Braves series here at Minute Maid Park. So the Braves are coming in here 9-5. The Braves are also coming into Minute Maid Park, being a highly ranked team. A lot of rankings have them in the top 5 minimally. Fangraphs had them first, and not by a long shot. It kind of looked like. So the Braves are a hot team. The Braves on paper have been the team that everybody wants to beat, or everybody projects to go to the World Series this season, even ahead of the Dodgers, who in the National League. So this team is hot. This team looks good on paper. This team should be feared. As a fan of the Astros since the late 80s, early 90s, I obviously have no love for the Atlanta Braves, so I do not want us to lose to them. So we're looking at the pitching matchups here. We have Atlanta is throwing out Darius Vines. Darius Vines is a very low whip pitcher with a decent ERA. He's got 2 games started so far for himself in this young career at 25 years old, and he's going to be pitching against our young starter, Spencer Arrighetti. It's spaghetti time, guys. So yeah, Spencer Arrighetti definitely kind of struggled in his first start with the Astros. He had pitched 2 really stellar innings, and then it looked like the pitcher started catching on to what he was doing in that 3rd inning and just really started putting the bat on the ball and just kind of getting whatever Spencer Arrighetti would give them. So this time, in spaghetti time, we're really hoping that Arrighetti can kind of shake off the rust there and kind of throw some strikes. He has some good pitches. If he's able to sequence his strikes and kind of strike people out with that sweeper, that would be really great. I'm still learning a lot about Spencer Arrighetti, so I don't know much about him. But yeah, we are rooting for him. That game is tonight and probably happening right now as we speak, if you're listening to this as it drops. The next game against the Braves is they're putting out Reynaldo Lopez, who has a 7.7 WAR career and for his career and a 4.25 ERA, but his whip is under 1.3. He has a 1.25 whip. He's a 30-year-old journeyman pitcher, and yeah, he looks like he's a solid starting pitcher, and he's going up against Hunter Brown, who has been struggling lately. So this could spell some struggles for the Astros if Hunter Brown is still struggling with his command. Hopefully, he looked at the potential that he was tipping pitches in the game that he really struggled against in his last start. Whatever the correction may be, hopefully Hunter Brown has found that. He definitely has major league stuff. He just has really struggled this season, and you don't want to see it. You don't want to see him lose that confidence. I'm really hoping that he can turn it around and start building on that confidence so that we can get innings out of him, because it would be really great to get a lot of innings out of Hunter Brown as opposed to having to put him in the bullpen and trying to chart a new path for his success in this young career for him. And in the third game against the Braves, we have Max Fried coming to town. Look, obviously, we know who he is. He is a great pitcher. However, he's out to a slow start. He's, maybe he's even a little hurt. I've heard a little whisper of, but I don't know enough to really. I'm not putting that out there myself. He's only pitched. He's got, I believe, 4 games started in 14 innings with a 5.79 ERA and a 1.64 WHIP on this young season. So he's definitely struggling. Right now, I think it would be nice to kind of pounce on his slow start, but it's to be determined. He's generally a great pitcher, so we can't just expect him to be struggling. We have to be ready for him. And we have J.P. France going up against Max Fried, and J.P. France is definitely looking to bounce back from a really rough start in his last outing as well. So, this is kind of our Suicide Squad bounce back crew. We're really hoping that these 3 pitchers can go deep into games, and we're not going to have to rely a lot on our middle relief, and Dana Brown won't have to get the pitching carousel back out and start bringing people up for one relief start and sending them back down, or finding people on waivers and claiming them, letting them play once, and then kind of having to DFA them or optioning them down. The Braves are looking like a good team. They're only on a 1-game winning streak, and they are 6-4 of their last 10, but they have a plus 19 point differential in this young season so far. So this is going to be a huge challenge for the Houston Astros. I really am hoping that they can find length out of the starting pitching. Even if it is a bit of a struggle, if these pitchers can just stay within the game, not let the games get too out of hand, if the Astros continue to put up high offensive numbers, if the starting pitchers are giving up 4 runs in 6 innings, that's not what we want, but maybe that's just enough to keep us in games. It's to be determined, but we definitely want length out of them. And I know a lot of people have been complaining about Joe Espada letting pitchers pitch late into the game, but when you're JP France and when you're Hunter Brown and you're struggling and the middle relief guys are completely overused, sometimes Joe Espada has nothing but to just let these pitchers kind of try to pitch out of a jam, and unfortunately for those pitchers, they have not been able to pitch out of jams sometimes. So, it doesn't make the decision look good. However, Joe Espada is also the guy that has let Ronel Blanco go into these games for a really long time. And, maybe a more traditional guy, or maybe like Dave Roberts here in Los Angeles, might have pulled him before, he got too taxed into that game because his arm isn't quite used to that. So, you have to kind of take the good with the bad. Joe Espada is playing the hand that he's dealt the best he can. So far into this young season, there has been, a couple of things that I wish would have turned out differently for the Astros, but I definitely am not seeing that all this criticism for Joe Espada is really valid so far. We're going to have to play really well against this Braves team to get to that first day off in quite some time on Thursday. So, we're really looking at, will the offense continue to trend upwards? Will we still be able to get hits with runners in scoring position? This offense looks like it's starting to figure it out, but will we be able to get timely hitting? And honestly, we need to look at what we're going to be getting production-wise and slugging-wise out of first and third base. Alex Bregman has had to take some games off for illness. However, we really, want him to start, doing better at the plate. He's done slowly so far what we expect from Alex Bregman. However, his strikeouts are up and his walks are down in this small sample size. So we're hoping that trend changes, that his walks continue to go up like it has in his career and his strikeout numbers go down, and that he, starts knocking some runs in, starts slugging. I definitely just got an update earlier. It looks like he might have gotten RBI, but, I have so much going on. I wasn't able to clearly look at that game update, but I'm hoping it looks good for us so far in this game against Atlanta. And then the next big question from Space Cadet here is, will our young starters figure out how to handle being under the microscope? Hunter Brown and JP France, Spencer Getty, these guys, they used to be in the back end, and now they're kind of right towards the front in the middle of the rotation here. So a lot of pitchers a lot of hitters are looking to kind of take them to task, to knock them out of the game early. How are they going to handle this amount of pressure, the pressure to win the game and the pressure from these overwhelming lineups in Atlanta? I'm hoping that they succeed and they stay the course and could go deep and give us 5 to 6 innings each start with a very low earned run, and our defense can pick them up. But we'll just have to see, folks. We really will. I could see it in Carla's eyes. She's telling me it's time to wrap this up. So, folks, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up so I can start watching this game against the Braves. Thanks so much for listening to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. You could reach out to us on Instagram at Space Cadet Sports. You could also reach out at Space. Sorry. You can tell I'm losing steam here. You could reach out to us at spacecadetsports.substack.com or spacecadetsports@substack.com is the email address. That's not to get too confusing there. I'm at Paul Salazar JR on all social media. You can reach out to me. Let me know what you think about the Astros. Let me know what you think about this upcoming series. You could also reach out to Carla, our producer, at good.dog.carla. You can see cute pictures of her there. But yeah, thanks for listening to the podcast here. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Give us a like, give us a share. just let's exercise some caution here, folks. Unlike me, the season is still young. Don't be an angry fan. All right, this is supposed to be joy. If you want to get too emotional or get all angry, there's a place for that. That's called being a New York Yankees fan. Let's just support our team. Try to be happy about the things that they've given us. Try to be happy about the good baseball that they can play in the future. I really think this team is turning it around. Don't fall for the national media trap of being negative and worrying that this team is going to lose a lot now. That's just what they're hoping for. So yeah, let's support our team that's given us so many good games and memories, and we have plenty of time to turn this around. So keep your chin up and vamos Astros.